in the audience thinks that entrepreneurship is thriving among millennials? It's a lot of the audience. You'll be surprised to learn that entrepreneurship is at a 25-year low among 18 to 30-year-olds.
Do you consider yourself a risk taker, or are you risk averse? I mean, you started for America. You trained as a lawyer, right?
Yes.
And you decided to start this company, it seems like a little bit on a lark.
I started thinking that the risk was more that I would never do anything, rather than the risk being that I would starve. And that's true for just about everyone here in this room, where starvation is really not going to happen to you. For me, at the time, I started a company that flopped in my mid-20s. It certainly was really difficult for me, but then you get a little bulletproof. Mm-hmm. And to your point about people now starting businesses at lower rates than they have in past generations, I had the benefit of really just falling flat on my face. I joked that I had a net worth of negative $100,000, but no one knows that unless you tell them. So that one of the things that Venture for America tries to do is put people in a position where they experience adversity and then they realize that they'll be okay.
Did you fail at all during this experience in trying to launch your own startup? Did you?
Yes. So the first company that I tried to launch was not Women Rising. It was Assembly of Commerce, which you haven't heard of because 0 people joined it. The whole idea was to connect small business owners to share resources. I've never been a small business owner. I didn't know any small business owners. It just seemed like the right thing to do hypothetically. So I started it, raised $6,000 and not a single from crowdfunding, which was great. And it turns out everyone donated aspirationally because everyone likes to help small businesses, but none of us knew what we were talking about, and no small businesses wanted to join this platform. So that was hugely embarrassing, and not only did it not work, I had also taken a bunch of my friends' money, which was even more mortifying. So I took a step back and said, I don't know what to do now, and one of my mentors said, the good news is people donated to this because they like you, not because they really cared about your product, so just do something better with it. And I started to think about what's the consumer that I know best, and it was women in technology. So we shifted to Women Rising, and then that's how that grew.
One thing that I found remarkable about the film is that it's not about a bunch of white guys. The spotlight really shines on different kinds of people with different backgrounds.
There's a tendency to sort of bucket people like me on the technical end of things. Like there's this inherent thing, like South Asian male, studied engineering in school, this is the person who's going to write code. And I can write code well enough to whip up an entry-level application, but my skills are better served kind of communicating the idea of the business and trying to think about the strategy. No one will ever automatically jump to that conclusion, and I have to work to prove myself and use very specific language and code myself in a very specific way in order to get people to reframe me away from engineering founder to like this is an overall founder who's going to do things.
So there are a lot of reasons, in my opinion, why young people aren't starting businesses as much. People graduate with higher levels of student debt today than they did in past years, so they're coming out with 30K on average, and that's going to suppress business formation. They have lower rates of home ownership, and people have traditionally used that as a source of money to start businesses. So those are like the quantitative reasons. The qualitative, which I personally believe in, is I think that we've set up something of this mad scramble among kids to get into this hyper-competitive college admissions process, and then by the time they get there, they're very, very
burnt out
and failure and risk averse.